The last lesson is written by Alphonse Daudet. Alphonse Daudet was a French novelist and a short story writer. This story is about Franco-Prussian War. There was a war going on between France and Prussia. Prussia in those days consisted of three nations: Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. So this story focuses on that two districts of France, Alsace and Lorraine, go into the Prussian hands. So there is some change that is observed in the school life. So what is that change? It is all about that. Okay, this story is narrated by a little schoolboy named as Franz. He starts his day, and that day he is very late to go to school, and he is so worried because he has not prepared his lecture on participles. What are participles? One question. So participles is like when you use a verb in the form of adjective or noun, then that is called participle. For example, we say a working woman. So working is a word made up of a verb, but it is used as an adjective because it is qualifying woman. It gives it adds some meaning to the word woman. Working woman. How the woman is working. It says something about the woman. So this is an adjective here. So this is called participle. There are many more examples just in short. Okay, so what happens is he's hurrying off to school. He has a teacher named as M. Hamel, and he's so worried that he will scold him. And then he has another idea that let me witness what is happening in the market, and it was so attractive, but still he restricts himself, and then he hurries off to school. When he was passing the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. So he was like, what can be the matter now? And then there was a blacksmith who said to him that you can reach to your school in plenty of time, it's okay. So Franz was thinking that he might be making fun of him, but when he reaches school he observes something strange. Usually when he used to reach his school, there was so much sound going on of opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison. Okay, what is unison? Unison. Unison, that it means that if a large group of people do one particular act together, all together, then that is called unison. So like in schools, we make children speak the same things or the same rhymes over and over again all together. That's called unison. So he says that normally there is so much noise going on outside this class of less repeated lessons, teacher's ruler rapping on the table, but today it's just so quiet. So he had decided that he would silently, there is a word known as commotion, COMMOTION. So generally students come to me and ask what a commotion is. Commotion is an act that you think in your mind that you are going to move this way and that way and that way. This is what you'll do. Maybe you have seen that movie Sherlock Holmes. He always did that thing. He always decided what he gonna do, how he gonna kill him, this and this, and then he used to perform this. So that's commotion, that you decide in your mind what you're going to do, how you will do this. You will enter this way, then you will do this, then you'll do that. So he says that he had decided the commotion, that he will enter the class very noiselessly. But what happens is, it was so quiet that when he reaches the door, everyone notices him. And he thought that Hamel is gonna scold him. But what happens is, he was very polite to him, and he says to him that come and sit to your seat. Sit at your seat. We were starting without you. Then what happens is he observed something very strange. First strange thing was that there was no noise. Okay, now secondly, he observes that his teacher M. Hamel is wearing his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, the little black silk cap, all embroidered, and he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So he was surprised. But the most surprising thing to him was that the back benches, which were generally free, they were occupied by the people of the village, old people of the village, like old Hauser and postmaster, former mayor, former postmaster. They were such old people of the village sitting at the back benches. Then he came to know about the primer that mentioned there was a primer in the hands of the old people sitting on the back. Then M. Hamel in his chair says that this is your last French lesson. There is an order that passed through Berlin that tomorrow onwards German will be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. And at that particular time he was so devastated. Then he realized why there was so much crowd at the bulletin board. Then he realized that why everyone is so sad, why the people are sitting on the back benches, because they are all devastated. For what? Because none of them have learned French so well. And his teacher was, maybe their presence is their way to show sympathy towards M. Hamel, because he served for the school for 40 years, and that's a really long time. And he was like, that is the last French lesson. He is unaware of his own language, and there was no scope, that there is no way he is gonna learn the same language ever again, because tomorrow onwards the language would never be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. So it was very devastating thing for everyone. And suddenly a sympathy for M. Hamel starts growing in his heart. And when he was thinking all of the things, suddenly his name was called, and M. Hamel asked him about the participles. He thought he would be able to say it clearly, but he was just unable to. He got mixed up in his words. Then what happens next is, M. Hamel doesn't scold him. He says that you should feel bad enough. And then he talks a lot about that you should feel bad that you say yourself Frenchman, yet you do not know anything about your own language. Then he says that you are not to blame, it is your parents. Then he says your parents never emphasized for you to learn French. Then he says not just them, they actually then he blamed himself as well. He says that when I have to go to fishing, not I give you just simply a holiday. So he was blaming each and every person, even himself, that for the times that they did not learn French and did something else. So one and another thing, he was talking about French, and he was saying that French is the most beautiful language ever created in the world. He says that it is most clearest and most logical. And then he says that we must guard it among us and never forget it. So he focuses on that you should always learn your language, you should focus on learning your own language, and you should stick to it. And then it says, because when people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Because language is the key to their prison. What does this mean? This means that if in case, suppose they know the language, suppose they know the French language, then the order, the restriction that German will be taught but French would not be taught, this will be useless. This is meaningless. If you already know the language, then there is no point teaching. Even if you don't teach that particular language, there is no point of restriction. Suppose here in Canada, English is banned, but everyone knows it, so the ban is useless, right? Suppose somewhere in India where people don't know English at all, English is banned, then there would be no source for them to learn English. That's what I mean. Okay, so after that he started teaching lesson, and then everyone listened to him very carefully, and Franz says that everything appeared to be so easy, and perhaps never ever before he listened to him so much carefully. Then he says after the grammar they had a lesson in writing, and M. Hamel distributed them new copies. The copies had written France and Alsace, so it was like it looked like beautiful flags everywhere in the room. Then he says that no one noticed anyone. It was so quiet. Everyone was busy working, and even some beetles entered and nobody noticed. Then he says, he notices, Franz notices that the pigeons were going very slow. So like they were also very sad because of this, because of the rule. And then he thinks, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? What could this mean? Even will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? This means that pigeons have their own language, their own way. The mother, father of the pigeons teach them their language, and there is no way that you can teach something else to a pigeon. There is no way. You can only you can rule over the things or people that are under your control, but still there exist so many things that are not in control of humans. So not everything on this planet could be enslaved. When then what happens is the lesson ends, and when the lesson ends, M. Hamel appears to be very sad, and he was like, when the day ends, he stands up and writes on the board, Vive la France. Vive la France is in French. In English it would be Live long France. Then he wanted to say that the school is dismissed, you may go, but all he could do is he says the same thing but just waving his hand. He was not able, his mouth was choked and he was not able to speak at all. And in this way the story ends. Let's take a look on the question and answers, and then we will understand the text even better. Okay, the first question is, what was Franz expected to be prepared with for school that day? Very simple, participles. What did Franz notice that was unusual about the school that day? Unusual? We noticed three things. First, quietness outside the classroom. Second thing, M. Hamel wearing what? New uniform, his inspection day, his favorite green coat, his frilled hat, and what? His frilled hat, and one more thing. Linen shirt, I think. His frilled shirt, the little black silk cap. Okay, that's all. And then the third thing he was surprised about was that the old people of the village were sitting at the back benches. What had been put up on the bulletin board? That German would be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, and there would be no French lessons at all. What changes did the order from Berlin cause in school that day? Everyone was so quiet, everyone was so sad, and everyone was so alarmed. How did Fran's feelings about M. Hamel in school change? Because M. Hamel devoted 40 years of his life in this particular school teaching French, and no one was taking care of it. No one bothered to learn French with their whole heart. So he was being thankful to his teacher, and that's why his feelings suddenly change. Okay, next it says the people in this story suddenly realize how precious their language is to them. What shows you this? Why does this happen? Because before that bulletin board report or news, what happens was they thought that they can learn French anytime. It is always available to them. And suddenly they realized that it is no more available to them. It is snatched from them. And they felt so sorry to not learn that language because they had the opportunity and they didn't avail it. And suddenly a day comes when they are snatched from their own language. If they would have learnt the language, the ban was of no use. It was useless. So they were sorry for this. Because language, what is the significance of a language? Language contains the culture. All the culture is stored in a particular language. If you are a Hindu, everything is stored. Everything of Hinduism is stored in Hindi and Sanskrit. And suppose these two languages are snatched from you, you're not able to read Hindi, you're not able to read and understand Sanskrit, then what will happen? Eventually, all the culture is just a symbol. You cannot read it, you cannot understand it, and in that way, the culture is snatched through your hands. This is actually the case because most of us do not understand Sanskrit, so we are unaware of what our culture is. But the good thing is that we know Hindi, and most of the major texts are being translated to Hindi. That's good. Next, France thinks, will they make them sing in German? Even the pigeons? What could this mean? We already discussed this. When a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Can you think of, this is not the question. You should always understand this. When a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So what generally students do is, they read it, they start writing the answer. Okay. People are enslaved, though they must have the key. Language is the key to their knowing a language is the key to their prison, because if they know the language, the ban is useless. You start stating things, but this is not the question. This is just a statement mentioned above the question. It is not the question. What the question is, can you think of examples in history where a conquered people had their language taken away from them or had a language imposed on them? You understand what a question is. It has a question mark. It starts with the question word. So this is the question. Now it says, can you think of examples in history? This is what he wants you to answer. That was just a statement. He wants you to refer to that statement, but he does not want you to answer, justify that statement, okay? Understand the difference. It's important. Knowing is not the key. The thing is that you should write your paper correctly. You should write what the examiner wants you to write. Not you can write anything. Okay? It is important. Can you think of examples in history? Okay, there are many examples when people had their languages banned. One of the example was like in Punjab, Punjabi was banned, only Urdu was taught. And even my grandfather, he had his diary all written in Urdu. He always wrote in Urdu because that was the language he learnt in his schooling. So Urdu was taught in Punjab, and there was no Punjabi, although people knew Punjabi. So the ban was of no use. It propagated, and further, after some time, when we gained independence, again we moved on to Punjabi. Okay, next question is, what happens to a linguistic minority in a state? How do you think they can keep their language alive? Yes, this is a good question because I am also a linguistic minority. I am a Sikh living in Madhya Pradesh. I used to live in Madhya Pradesh. Now I am in Canada, which has a third language is Punjabi. So here people speak a lot of Punjabi. Punjabis in Bangalore, Tamilians in Mumbai, Kannadis in Delhi, Gujaratis in Kolkata. There is one thing that everyone does. Whosoever is a minority, what people do is they speak their own language in their homes so that they can protect their language. I learned Punjabi in my home, right? Not outside home, because that was not the language in my school, that was not the language in my surroundings, but I learned it only through my family. And I learned even writing it, reading it. I know how to read, how to write in Punjabi, so that's a good thing. I learned it from my family. This is what people can do. Okay, now one of the most important questions of this chapter is it possible to carry pride in one's language too far? Always remember, is it possible? That means he asks you, yes or no? Yes or no? No, it's not possible. Or maybe yes, it is possible. Do you know that what linguistic chauvinism means? Yes. Linguistic chauvinism. Chauvinism in particular is a word that means that you tell the qualities of one particular thing, like that is the most beautiful thing ever created, that is the most superior thing. So linguistic chauvinism means that someone is saying that my language is the most wonderful language in the world, and he is unaware of the other languages, but still, because he loves his language, so he says that my language is the greatest language ever created ever. Okay, so it is not reality. It is what? It is your feelings and emotions that creates that reaction. Okay, next. English is a language that contains words from many other languages. This inclusiveness is one of the reasons it is now a world language. Yes, you should know. Like petite is a French word, kindergarten is German, capital is Latin, democracy is Greek, bazaar is Hindi. Okay, next is, notice the underlined words in these sentences and take the option that best explains their meaning. What a thunderclap these words were to me. Answer would be startling and unexpected. What is startling? Startling means alarming. When a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, hold fast to, that means are attached to their language. Don't go so fast, you will get to your school in plenty of time. That means early enough. I never saw him look so tall. So it says that he seemed very confident. Now after this, this chapter has a writing section. Okay, so what you gonna do in writing section is just read the questions and do it once. Okay, this will really help you. Just go through all of the exercise. All I want you to do is, after listening to this video, what you do is start with the exercise. Okay, understanding the text. Read each and every question and read each and every question. I am not saying you just take a pen and paper and start writing it. Okay, prevent your time. I don't want you to waste your time at all. This is the purpose of this video, right? I'm doing this sitting here long, very far away from you, right? Why I'm doing this? Because I want you to not waste time at all. Okay, so what you do now is just read these questions. Think in your mind, what is the possible answer? Okay, don't go through golden. Okay, just think in your mind, what can be the possible answer? If you have the answer, well and good. If you don't have the answer, search it. Maybe go through it once again, or what else I can do. Okay, you should have answers of each and every question. Okay, if there is any doubt, please write to me. My email address is lifeanddaman@gmail.com. So please write to me, ask me questions. I'll be there to help you out. Go through the question and answers. If there is any doubt, if there is still any doubt, or you're not able to crack the answer of any question, please let me know. I'll help you out. Alright, that's all. Thanks.